right, great. So another perception that I would like to hear from you concerning the eighth Senate Assembly is the fact that during the first tenure of former President Buhari, we had a Senate that really put the executive in check. Most times, it always queried whatever proposition or proposal comes from the Senate's office to the National Assembly. Now, one would have expected, people thought that it was because Saraki was definitely acting like a rebel, someone who wanted to garner the support of most people for his presidential ambition. But if we consider it, isn't it how it's supposed to be? Must the executive and the legislature be in tandem all the time?
The problem with Nigerians, and especially Nigerian leaders, is that they have this feudalist mentality. At best, they have colonial inclination, where they think that whoever becomes president, governor, or whatever executive power that is given to them should do and undo, act in whatever manners they want. I mean, I've liked Saraki as a person, but I must tell you that the things he queried were not what people were angry about. It was just the fact that he queried the executive, just the fact that he opposed some of the things that president wanted. We live in a country where even those who shout and think democracy don't even know the principles of democracy. They think we are practicing. They don't know the principles of democracy. It's a place where the executive, the president thinks that whatever he wants should be given to him as if he's running a kingdom. So if we wanted a monarchy, we should have gone for it. If we wanted a theocracy, we should have gone for it. But if what we want is a democracy, is that those 109 senators represent the interests of their constituents above the interests of one man called the president, who sees things only from his own premise. From the perspective of these 109 senators, the interests and the burdens and the challenges of majority of Nigerians across board is related to the national government, and it should be respected, especially if the purpose for which the executive and the National Assembly is being disagreeable is because it's not about sharing. It's not about what comes to one individual. It's about doing the right thing. It's about following the rule of law. For example, in the last Senate, we saw a president who was going to the central bank to borrow money without the approval of the Senate. Over 21 trillion by ways and means. And you are shouting about inflation. And there was somebody who, the co-Senate president and members of the Senate, who have to hurriedly approve it after it has been spent. These people are insulting Nigerians. They are insulting Nigerians. What manner of democracy is that? Where Senate, a whole National Assembly, has become a playground for a president who can print money without the approval of the Senate, who can spend money that is not in the budget, who cannot probe even the budgetary allocations that have been made. No, it's an insult. If what we are practicing is democracy, the president or the executive, be the governor, must realize that this is not a kingdom. This is a nation, and in a democracy, we must have checks and balances so that there's no absolute power which corrupts absolutely and absolutely destroys a nation.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So let's look at what is currently going to take place today. We do know already that there is a convergence at the moment, and there is heavy security presence at the seat of power today. So apparently, let's talk about the governors who are backing Akpabio. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde stated that the state governors are supporting the aspiration of Akpabio for Senate President. Makinde made the statement at his post-inauguration special Thanksgiving service. Now, he said that we already have a president that is of Islamic faith. We have a vice president that is of the Islamic faith. I am saying it publicly, all the governors in Nigeria came together and we said we will support the choice of Senate President who is a Christian from the south region of Nigeria. Now, earlier when we started off the conversation with you, you mentioned that the religious sentiments and whether tribal sentiment is literally fluke, because that has never made any difference when it comes to politics in this part of the world, politics that has to reflect on the lives of the people. But they have consistently used this as a flag to see those who can concede and form, create more alliances when it comes to an agenda that seems more personal but it's being thrown as it is for the people. Do we consider this particular Senate being formed, this 10th Assembly, would we consider them more ethnically inclined or religiously inclined?
Well, these are religious hypocrites. Very hypocritical. If you are conscious and considerate of religious inclination in Nigeria, the first place you should have balanced it is within the executive, because the executive wields enormous of power in Nigeria, and you need the balancing act to have been done right there. And considering that actually the National Assembly has become a rival of the executive, I don't think there is anything. Those like who said the reason why they run on self-faith ticket is to win an election. All of this is about winning, and the question is, have they actually told you the reason they support this particular individual, want to support or against anybody? The question is, when they tell you the reasons, they are very flimsy reasons. They are not talking about the capacity of this individual to bring, to make laws that will change or transform Nigeria. They are not talking about the capacity of this individual up to the executive to be able to balance power. They are not talking about capacity of this individual to help the executive direct their vision. No, the reasons are absolutely flimsy. In fact, in this country, I call many of these people religious hypocrites. Both Christians and Muslims in this country populate the presidency, populate the National Assembly, and it is still in this same country of religious hypocrites. That corruption is destroying the nation. Go and check those who are looting Nigeria. They are Muslims and Christians. So what are they telling us about religion? This religion is, they use them for political reasons, and when they get there, they dump this one religion as part of the instrument for oppression, for manipulation of the political environment. It has not been any useful. Otherwise, who are those ministers? Who are those members of National Assembly who are stealing Nigeria money made for Nigeria?
In fact, that's where my next question wanted to come. Great. Just hold on a little bit. So let's paint a picture. Let's illustrate something here. You mentioned earlier the NDDC quagmire or the debacle where the whole off your mic slang became the mantra on everybody's lips. Now, you recall that Akpabio was at the center of this. You represent the Niger Delta, but there was serious impoverishment within that particular region. Monies allocated to that region from the federal government could not be accounted for. The reflection of the money is for those who live in the areas where this oil is being spilled, no one can actually see anything. So when it comes to character, when it comes to competence, when it comes to principles, would you say Akpabio does not have that representation? Which obviously tells again that when we may experience a Senate that doesn't actually reflect the needs or the voice of the people.
Unfortunately, I will say that there were some things to praise Akpabio about in terms of infrastructure, but because in Nigeria there is no accountability, there is no probity. So because Akwa Ibom is actually a very well endowed state, it's an oil-rich state. So when you are comparing what he did in Akwa Ibom with other states, you will say, oh, he did well, but not comparing the allocation that came to him. But that notwithstanding, there are other states where we've seen governors who were given such resources who never did a thing. Right? At least what they did was not commensurate with what they stole, if they stole anyway. But going forward, it was unfortunate that even as an indigenous of the Niger Delta, right before him or before he came to be as a minister, this corruption had been taking place, denying the people the resources. And what will amaze you is that while the people fight themselves on the basis of religion, on the basis of region, tribe, these people are not fighting on this basis. They fight on the basis of what is in need for me. And that is why you see, when that probe was going on, you saw people from northern region who are part of the corruption in NDDC, in the Niger Delta. You saw people from the southwest. You saw people from the south side. You saw people from the southeast. So these people now, the contest is no longer a contest of idea. The contest is not a contest of who is the best and the brightest for Nigeria's development. It is a contest of who do I know? Who can I get, benefit from? Some of these governors will be going to look for loan. They want a senior president that will stamp it, who will not query when the civil society comes knocking that this governor have borrowed so much. They want a senior president that will pass it for them at the National Assembly. The executive wants a senior president that will pass for them to spend, like we had Ways and Means 21 trillion. This is the interest. It is the political elite struggling to benefit themselves. It's not about Nigeria, because the competence really, I mean, if it is competence for corruption, it is the best corrupt person that they go for actually. Who will make it go round? I mean, you've had comments. Sometimes we like to deceive ourselves. You've had side comments amongst politicians. Oh, this guy, he has an open hand. What is an open hand? The person who brings the resources that is meant for development for the political elite to share. So when they begin to gather around somebody, you must fear that there is something all of them have to benefit. It's not Nigeria, honestly.
Interested. Cyril, I think I've kept you at the bunker for a while. So apparently Yari and others failed to step down for Akpabio. And Abbas, of course, while the leadership position is still ongoing today. Izunaso, Musa withdrew. Lawan has endorsed Akpabio after meeting with President Tinubu. So do you think it is deliberate that Yari was, kept on to say, I'm not stepping down for Akpabio?
Well, when it's a deliberate, whose strategy will that now be?
When I mean deliberate, sometimes they say it's a conspiracy theory that we just try to put this facade on ground.
Yeah,
so it doesn't seem as if
a smoke screen.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like
planned out.
Well, I mean, you never can tell. This is politics, because the crisis within the APC has been about zoning. The president is southwest, his vice is northeast, Borno. Okay, you have the parties endorsed president of the Senate. If he wins today, Akpabio, south, his vice, his deputy will be northwest. Then the House of Reps, Senate, the speaker is going to be northwest, and then his deputy will be southeast. So the only zone left out of the equation is the north central, which is where Wase incidentally comes from. Now the argument is, some people have said that this zoning formula is skewed.
Okay.
Skewed in the sense that the north central is not represented. I think that left to the president alone, perhaps left to the people who are tinkering with this whole thing, they would have gone for a Barrow, for a northwesterner to be Senate president, which is where Yari comes from. And so Yari, in fighting to be Senate president, he comes from the northwest, not north central. His deputy coming from the southeast, Oje Kalu, same as Benjamin Kalu of Abia. Both men are even Abia State, which means that both Yari and Akpabio are not corrective tickets. They are not there to try to correct what the anomaly of not having the north central represented in any of the major arms of government. So whether it is Yari or Akpabio, the north central is left out of the picture. So I don't know if Yari is fighting for justice, fighting for the party, fighting for the president, fighting for himself, fighting for, because normally if he had of course he wouldn't have been able to pick a deputy from the north central, because he is already from the north. So I think the major flaw of the APC's leadership, whatever, right now, from the Senate to the House of Reps to the presidency, is the fact that we don't have anybody from the North Central. And in all of this, I mean, I couldn't agree more with a great Imo. That from the start, they had already jettisoned and sacrificed national character or federal character. So, and the only opportunity they now have to fix it, nobody is even talking about federal character. So even if it is on the score of that, neither Akpabio nor Yari could entice me, could make me feel happy and say, okay, one of them is for justice. None is. None is. I even wonder why none of the North Central senators is waking up to make a case for himself, either from Benue or from Plateau or Nasarawa or what are these states that Plateau, right? Or even Abuja itself. We don't seem to hear these voices. So, in the end, What are they fighting for? Like I pointed out earlier, you will see Yari's campaign post, whatever it is, on the page of national newspapers. Yari's picture is there, Ojakale's picture is there, then the president's picture is also there. What the people are doing is they are fighting to say, Mr. President, we are also loyal to you. Allow us be the ones who become Senate president. They are not there in the interest of the people. And as I've said that several times, what can be done is when, today is the day. Tell your colleagues what exactly it is you want, you're bringing to the table to change the game. You know, is it about legislation? Is it about fiscal federalism? Is it restructuring? Is it to make sure that none of the... In fact, for me, one urgent thing that must be plugged now is the way people are stealing the nation blind. Ministries, agencies, how can the National Assembly that has oversight functions, how can they strengthen their internal processes to prevent humongous larceny from the corridor? Not when it has come in so fully, whenever I've seen it, there's a 20 trillion naira miss from NNPC over change of name. 500 billion naira lost through Anchor Borrowers program.
Just like that.
Just like that. Billions and trillions just going. So if none of these people is telling us what they want to do to change the narrative, I mean, why should I stick my head out for Pabio or for Yari? Is it because they're from my zone or my command or my local government area? I think that's the bane of the matter right now.
Now, great. If we need to consider what Cyril has just said, do you think that a couple of Nigerians don't seem to be interested in what takes place at the Senate because, according to them, these individuals do not represent their interests? So if they're not keenly interested, just like they would be for the presidential election or governorship election, it seems like the body language of Nigerians, they don't even try to keep abreast with what is going on there. The only time they would is if possibly it affects any policy or decision making that would infringe or, you know, become impede the things that they need to do daily to survive. For example, a fuel price or possibly education. These are key factors that makes people react and want to understand exactly what the National Assembly is doing about it. What I need your take before I let you go. I need your take to the aura and in terms of the body language of Nigerians generally towards, you know, the National Assembly as a body.
I can tell you that most Nigerians are used to these characters. In fact, you know, when a nation does not even understand its immediate needs, the characters that will emerge on the scene will not bother much. But I think Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians know. Even the Nigerian political elite know, but they pretend not to know. The reasons for which Nigerians have been fighting, protesting, NSAS and everything is number one, corruption, insecurity. And it will interest you to know. And they are still going through, either have been indicted for corruption, or undergoing this trial for corruption. And the number one thing you need to deal with to free resources for Nigeria's development, to deal with corruption. And with this horse trading, a lot of promises are, a lot of sellouts, a lot of things that will even handicap them from fighting the corruption. So Nigerians may not be interested wherever they come from, because all that's running for Nigeria's senior presidency are on trial for corruption. And the number one thing you need to deal with for this country to move forward is corruption. And those who are contesting for election have been immersed in corruption in the times past. It is an unfortunate incident. I don't think that a lot of things have undermined the peace, the joy of Nigerians. But I want to warn this political elite. They keep taking Nigerians for granted. Elections have been undermined, yet in this 21st century, and now we have those who have been indicted for corruption being the ones squabbling to lead the National Assembly before the whole world, rather further undermining our image and our progress as a people. The citizens who have been beaten down, who are weak to speak now, who are tired, who have been squeezed to a corner, they may rise in a way that will surprise these people, because it's becoming so much. While you are arresting young boys carrying laptops, those who are being tried for humongous corruption are being endorsed by sitting executive members and governors to go and be the Senate president. Before the whole world, you are saying you are fighting corruption, you are looking for Yahoo boys or whatever small children holding phone. Those who are undergoing traffic for stealing billions of their people's money are being endorsed to go and be the Senate president of Nigeria. One day something will give in this country if care is not taken.
Great, Imo. I do appreciate you for being part of VOP this morning. You have actually given a decisive perspective on the conversation today. Possibly by the end of today, we'll know what the outcome would be and who would eventually become the Senate president, you know, to lead the 10th National Assembly. Once again, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Cyril Abaku, thank you as well for being part of VOP this morning, as usual.
My pleasure.